Hi folks, in this video I'm going to show you some things I'm doing to my metal building in preparation for winter time, and my intent is to reduce the chances that mice can get in. Now usually metal buildings are fairly tight, it depends on how they're constructed, but my main concern right now that I'm going to show you how to address is right here on the corner where you have these big corner pieces, they're trim pieces. So what I'm doing is I'm opening up the trim corner pieces by removing the fasteners, and I'm installing stainless steel wool. There's different kinds available. This is a very coarse type of stainless steel wool here. And here's some finer stuff right here. And you can cut this with normal scissors. Stainless steel wool is an excellent way to discourage mice and rodents from entering a structure, but it has to be applied properly, and it has to be stainless steel. Normal steel wool will corrode, rust, oxidize, and fall apart in a very short time. Stainless steel is a better choice because it won't corrode or rust, and it will stay there for many years to come. In order to fit the steel wool in, it's fairly easy to get the fasteners out and basically pull the trim back or remove it. And once I have the fasteners out, I'll be able to go in there and put the steel wool in behind. And if you look at these right here, these ribs in the sheeting or sheathing, these are where the mice would probably come in. They're one of the places they can come in because these go all along the building. And unfortunately, they're behind here, and there's an opening at the very corner of this trim. And all the mice have to do is go around this corner and they can come right in your walls. It's unfortunate that these metal buildings are not designed with mice in mind. They really don't take that into account. But that's just the way it is. When using steel wool to prevent mice, it's important to understand that if you don't force the mice to go through the steel wool and they can go around it, it isn't going to work. The steel wool is very, very sharp, it's coarse, and they don't like chewing on it and they don't like the material at all. But if they can go around it, they will. Now I'm just showing the bottom right now. It's easier to do it on the ground here. So what I'm going to do is get it right in there. And I'm going to try to cover up those ribs where these ribs intersect at the corner. And you want to try to stuff the steel wool up in those ribs and at the corner, so that the only way the mice can access that is to get through the steel wool. You want to make sure and get that corner at the bottom full of steel wool, because the mice are most likely to come in at the bottom. Of course they can come up here too, but they'll take the easy way if they can. And another thing to look out for when you're doing this is a lot of times wasps will come in here and build nests. There'll be a lot of wasps in there. So be careful if you take your trim off or you put your fingers in there, because it's very likely for wasps to be in there nesting. So I've got the steel wool in there. Let me go ahead and see if I can show that. You can see it in there. It's not easy to see, but it's in there. And I've stuffed it in the corner, and I brought it around to cover the corner from the other side of the trim as well. Now that's not enough. Mice are very creative and they know how to get in, but it's a start. Next, I'm going to take the really coarse stuff that I have, and I'm going to use that on the outside because this takes up a lot more volume. I'm going to use that on the outside of the fine steel wool to ensure extra protection. There's really nothing skillful about it. I'm just going to shape it a little bit, and I'm going to shove it in there, and I'm just going to build up the volume inside to keep the mice from being able to slip past the steel wool. Mice don't like steel wool. You don't want to use normal steel wool because it will corrode and fall to pieces. This is stainless steel, and that's why I'm using it. It will never corrode. I'm not showing you the whole job, just the lower parts of the trim, which are easier to record and access. More is better. The more stainless steel wool you have in there, the less likelihood that a mouse could sneak in there and access your building. Depending on how much volume of stainless steel wool is in there, you may have to do some trimming of the excess that sticks out. As you can see from this footage, it's pretty hard to tell there's any stainless steel wool in there. It really doesn't look bad because you can hide it behind the trim. But it could be helpful to have some of it right here at the edge. I'm going to try without it. I'm going to see how I get on. I'm not going to have that much in there, and I'll just see how it goes. Once I've got the stainless steel wool in there the way I want, it's simply a matter of putting the fasteners back on. And I try not to over tighten the fasteners, and that should be good. So this is quite a tedious process, and I have a building that's 10 foot high. It would be quite difficult to get the entire piece of trim full, but I'm just showing you this section here because it's near the ground and it's easy to do. The lower you are to the ground, the more important it becomes to discourage mice. Think like a mouse. They start on the ground down low, and if they can get into your building without having to climb up 3 or 4 feet, they will. They always check down low first. How high up should you go? Well, mice are known for jumping several feet in the air, or so I've heard, and they're known for climbing up just about anything, so ideally all the way to the top. Don't leave any stone unturned, and don't leave any gap unfilled or sealed, and don't assume that they won't come in, because if there's an opening, they'll come in. Well, I'm running out of steel wool, and I got all 4 corners with at least some steel wool in them. You can't really see it. I mean, there are some strands hanging out here and there. I can just put those in. And I paid special attention to the bottom of the corners. You want to really watch this area down here, because that's where they're going to look first. It's right down here. You want to make real sure that you have plenty of steel wool down in here. And of course, we know they can come up here probably, but the first place they're going to look is always at the bottom. Okay, next thing I'm going to show you is this particular building has a concrete slab. And you can see that the concrete slab comes up a couple inches, and this metal sheathing actually comes down and covers part of the side of the concrete slab. However, that does not mean that mice can't get in. Mice are very good at what they do, and you got to look out for things like this. See, that's just an open indentation for mice, and that really needs to be flat, but unfortunately it was bent when the installers were building the building. They bent up a lot of the metal pretty bad. So things like that, attention to detail, think like a mouse. Mice start out down low, so you should get down on a knee pad and look for things like this. The mice aren't going to go to your roof first, they're going to come down here first, and they're going to look for things like that. Now, you really should understand the construction of your metal building. Hopefully you can see inside the walls. Yours may be different. Not all metal buildings are built like this. I've seen them built different ways. But if you have the kind that comes down to the slab, as this one does, and you have the sheathing anchored right here, I would say that's better. It's not going to guarantee that mice don't get in, but it is better, I think, than some of the other designs that I have seen. Now, in this video, I'm not going to address roll-up doors. I think everybody knows that roll-up doors have a serious mouse deficiency down at the bottom, mainly where the seal is, and they sell special door seals for that purpose, so I'm not going to duplicate effort. And I don't think there's any way to truly mouse-proof a building. I know for a fact they're going to try to come in through these structural ribs that are in the panels. I know that. This is just a mouse highway, if you ask me. That's exactly what it is. You got to think like a mouse. I don't want them to get in the walls behind my foam board and all that hard work I did and make a mess. Mice make a terrible mess. I'm sure you know that. I do have a mouse trap in my metal building. You should always set a mouse trap, because if for some reason the mice do get in and you don't have a mouse trap, you're not necessarily going to be aware of their presence. So to me, even a single mouse trap is worth its weight in gold, because it will detect the presence of mice and alert you if you check the trap, and that's very important. I hope this video helps you out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.